I'm Amber Wilson, 34, a senior software engineer who clawed my way up from nothing, building a career while my parents poured endless love and resources into my younger sister, Kayla. Last Christmas, they didn't invite me to family dinner. Instead, they sent me a $30,000 invoice for Kayla's dream car, a Tesla Model 3. When I called, stunned, my mom laughed and said, "You're just a bank to us." "Amber," my dad added, "you're not worth a plate at Christmas." Those words cut deeper than I can describe, but they had no idea what I was about to do next. Before I dive into this story, I want to hear from you. Drop your location in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. If this resonates, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Stick with me, because this is the story of the most painful betrayal I've ever faced and how I turned it into my greatest victory. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Portland, Oregon, my life looked picture-perfect from the outside. Our house on Maple Street had a neatly trimmed lawn, matching bicycles in the garage, and family photos lining the hallway walls, all smiles and warmth. But those photos hid a truth I lived with every day. From my earliest memories, I was the responsible one, the one who had to earn every scrap of approval, while Kayla, 3 years younger, was the golden child. Bathed in praise no matter what she did, I'd bring home straight A's in middle school, and my report card would get a quick nod before being tossed on the fridge. Kayla would bring home B's and C's, and my parents would throw a celebration dinner, gushing about how hard she tried. It was a pattern that broke my heart as a kid who just wanted to be seen. I remember sitting alone in the bleachers at my volleyball games, scanning the empty seats where my parents promised they'd be. They always had an excuse Dad had to work late, or Mom was taking Kayla shopping for her dance recital costume. Speaking of dance recitals, I never missed one of Kayla's performances. My parents made sure the whole family showed up, even if it meant I had to skip my science club competitions. The disparity only grew as we got older. When I turned 16, I got practical gifts, a used laptop for school, and some basic clothes. When Kayla turned 16, they threw her an extravagant party at a fancy venue and handed her the keys to a used car. Meanwhile, I'd spent 3 years bagging groceries to buy my own beat-up Honda that broke down every other month. College was where the divide became undeniable. Despite my higher grades and packed extracurriculars, I got minimal financial help from my parents. I worked 3 jobs, morning shifts at a coffee shop, afternoon tutoring, and weekend retail just to cover tuition and books. Kayla. They paid her full tuition, covered her apartment rent, and gave her a generous monthly allowance. Their excuse was always the same. "Amber's so independent and capable. Kayla needs more support to find her way." It stung, but I swallowed it, thinking maybe they were right. Maybe I was just built to handle more. After college, I landed an entry-level programming job at a tech startup. The pay was modest, but it was my foot in the door. For 3 years, I worked 70-hour weeks, taking on extra projects and teaching myself new programming languages on weekends. My hard work paid off. I was promoted to senior developer and eventually to team lead at a major tech firm. Kayla's path was the opposite. She bounced between jobs, never staying anywhere longer than 6 months. Her online boutique flopped within a year. Her photography business never even got off the ground. Each failure ended the same way my parents bailed her out with money and reassured her the world just wasn't ready for her talents. Over the past decade, the distance between me and my family grew. I'd try to visit for holidays or special occasions, but I always felt like an outsider. Conversations revolved around Kayla's latest ventures or struggles, with barely a glance at my life or achievements. When I bought my first condo, my mom said, "That's nice, but isn't it a bit small?" When I won a major industry award, my dad muttered, "Good for you," before pivoting to Kayla's newest business idea. Then came the financial requests. It started small, $500 for Kayla's car repair, $1,000 for my parents' anniversary trip, $2,000 for a temporary mortgage issue. None of those loans were ever repaid. If I brought up repayment, they'd guilt-trip me, saying, "Family supports each other." Amber. Each time, I told myself it was the last, but their manipulation always pulled me back in. Last November, I made one final attempt to bridge the gap. I called my parents and suggested we go to a nice restaurant for Thanksgiving instead of their usual gathering. My mom hesitated, then said they'd already made plans with Kayla and her new boyfriend, Lucas. "You're welcome to join us at the house," she added, like an afterthought. I declined and spent Thanksgiving with friends instead. 2 weeks before Christmas, I called again to discuss holiday plans. The conversation was vague, but my mom said, "We'll figure something out and let you know." I took it as a hopeful sign, an olive branch after years of distance. I bought thoughtful gifts, a gourmet cooking set for Mom, a premium golf club for Dad, and designer boots Kayla had been posting about on Instagram. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of hope for our family. Christmas Eve started perfectly. My apartment was decked out with twinkling lights and a small, elegant tree adorned with ornaments I'd collected over the years. The scent of cinnamon and apple cider filled the air as I baked cookies, anticipating a last-minute invitation. Despite our history, the holidays always stirred a longing for connection. I wrapped the gifts and placed them by the door, checking my phone every hour, clinging to the hope that this might be the year things changed. By mid-afternoon, that hope was fading, but I reminded myself Christmas was about forgiveness and new beginnings. At 6:42 p.m., my phone pinged with a notification from my dad. My heart leaped finally, the invitation I'd been waiting for. But when I opened the message, my stomach dropped. It was a family photo, my parents, Kayla, Lucas, my grandparents, aunts, and uncles, all gathered around a lavishly decorated dinner table, wearing matching Christmas sweaters, raising glasses in a toast. The caption read, "Merry Christmas from the Wilson family." I stared in disbelief. They were celebrating Christmas Eve dinner without me. Not only had I not been invited, but they'd sent me photographic proof of my exclusion. The pain hit like a physical blow. Before I could process it, another notification appeared in email from my dad, hoping for an explanation or apology. I opened it. Instead, I found a PDF labeled invoice. It was a professional bill for $30,000 with the description, "Your sister's dream car. Payment expected by New Year. No greeting. No explanation. Just bank account details." I read it 3 times to be sure I wasn't imagining it. My parents had excluded me from Christmas and sent me a bill to buy Kayla a car. My hands shook as I called my dad. Straight to voicemail. I tried my mom, then Kayla, same result. After 20 minutes of frantic dialing, my mom finally answered, laughter and Christmas music in the background. "Hello, Amber, is this about the invoice? We're in the middle of dessert," she said, her tone casual. My voice trembled. "Mom, what's going on? Why wasn't I invited to Christmas, and why are you billing me $30,000 for Kayla's car?" There was a pause. Then her cold laugh, a sound that still haunts me. "Amber, let's be honest. You're just a bank to us now. You've got all this money and no family of your own to spend it on. Kayla's been wanting a Tesla Model 3, and since you never visit or participate anyway, we figured you could at least contribute financially." I was speechless. My own mother had just admitted they saw me as a cash machine. "Can I speak to Dad?" I managed, my voice barely audible. The phone shuffled, and my dad's gruff voice came through. "Amber, I don't appreciate you disturbing our Christmas dinner. The invoice is clear. We expect payment by New Year." "Dad," I whispered, "why wasn't I invited to Christmas?" His response shattered me. "You're not worth a plate at Christmas. Amber, you've always been difficult and selfish. The least you can do is help your sister, who actually brings joy to this family." In the background, I heard Kayla say, "Is she going to pay for my car, or what? I already picked out the color." The casual cruelty made me sick. I ended the call and collapsed on my kitchen floor, sobbing. The wrapped gifts mocked me from across the room as the weight of their betrayal crushed me. I must have texted my friend Taylor in my distress because 30 minutes later, she was at my door. Concern etched on her face. She found me on the floor, surrounded by crumpled tissues. "Amber, what happened?" she asked, kneeling beside me. Through sobs, I showed her the photo, the invoice, and recounted the call. Taylor's expression shifted from worry to outrage. "This is emotional and financial abuse. Amber," she said firmly, "no loving family does this." "But they're my family," I whispered, the words hollow. Taylor took my hands. "Blood doesn't make family. Love, respect, and support do. And they've shown you none of those." She stayed with me, making tea, ordering takeout, and helping me see that this wasn't normal. By midnight, one thing was clear: I couldn't keep being their ATM while being excluded from the family. That painful Christmas Eve would become the push I needed to break free. Christmas Day dawned gray and cold. Mirroring the emptiness inside me, Taylor invited me to her family's celebration, but I needed time alone. I spent the morning in pajamas, staring at the Christmas tree I'd decorated with such hope. The unwrapped gifts for my family sat by the door, a painful reminder. Out of habit, I checked social media and regretted it instantly. My feed was flooded with my family's Christmas posts, Kayla's selfies with Lucas under the tree, Mom's elaborate dinner spread, Dad playing Santa, handing out gifts. Extended family tagged each other in group photos, flaunting their perfect holiday, the one I'd been told I wasn't worth joining. The posts triggered memories I'd buried. I was 8, unwrapping practical Christmas gifts, school supplies, and plain clothes, while 5-year-old Kayla got a mountain of toys and dresses. When I asked why Santa brought her more, Mom said, "Santa brings what children deserve." At 12, I saved my allowance for months to buy thoughtful gifts for my parents, a gardening book for Mom, a vintage record for Dad. They thanked me briefly, then fawned over Kayla's stick figure card, displaying it on the fridge for months while my gifts gathered dust. In college, I worked double shifts to afford a bus home, only to find my bedroom turned into Kayla's art studio. I slept on an air mattress in the basement while she complained my presence disrupted her creative space. My whole life, I'd been conditioned to accept this. "Be the bigger person, Amber," Mom would say when I expressed hurt. "Family comes first." Dad would insist when I tried setting boundaries. Those phrases were chains keeping me tied to people who devalued me. By noon, my phone buzzed with messages from extended family. "Aunt Patricia missed you yesterday. Where were you? Cousin Michael. Everything okay? Strange not seeing you at Christmas. Uncle Robert, your parents said you were too busy with work to join us." Each message revealed another lie. My parents hadn't just excluded me, they'd told everyone I chose not to come, painting me as the workaholic daughter too busy for family. Not one relative had checked with me before the holiday. They'd accepted the narrative and moved on. I couldn't bear the isolation anymore. I called my therapist, Dr. Brenda Hayes, hoping for an emergency session despite the holiday. She agreed to a video call. "Amber, this goes beyond favoritism," she said after I recounted the events. "This is emotional and financial abuse." "But shouldn't family support each other?" I asked, echoing my parents' manipulation. "Support is mutual," Dr. Hayes replied. "What you're describing is exploitation." She asked if my parents had ever supported me emotionally, celebrated my achievements, or comforted me in hardship. The answer was no. Even my college graduation was overshadowed by Kayla's breakup drama. "They view you as a resource, not a person to be loved," Dr. Hayes said. The session clarified the pattern, but the pain lingered. After the call, I did something I'd never done before. I documented every financial request from my family. In a spreadsheet, I listed every loan and gift: $3,000 for Kayla's failed startup, $5,000 for my parents' roof repair, $2,500 for Kayla's credit card debt, $4,000 for their anniversary cruise, $1,800 for Kayla's rent when she quit her job to find herself. The total over $45,000 in 5 years. None repaid. Seeing it in black and white made me nauseous. This wasn't support, it was systematic exploitation. That evening, a notification jolted me. Kayla had posted a photo of herself next to a bright red Tesla Model 3 with a giant bow on top. Caption: "Best Christmas ever. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for making my dream come true." They'd already bought the car. The $30,000 invoice wasn't for a future purchase. It was to reimburse them for a gift they'd taken credit for. No mention of my expected contribution. Minutes later, a text from my dad. "Saw you viewed Kayla's post. Reminder we expect the transfer by December 31st. Don't disappoint your sister. No concern for me spending Christmas alone. No acknowledgement of the gifts I'd bought, just another demand." Something broke inside me. The last shred of hope that they cared, even a little, snapped. I saw clearly I was nothing but a bank account to them. That night, I promised myself this would be the last Christmas I let their actions wound me. Since I couldn't change them, I'd change how I responded. They had no idea the daughter they'd underestimated was about to show them who she really was. New Year's Eve arrived, and my friend Jessica dragged me to her annual party. "Amber, sitting alone staring at those family photos won't help," she'd said. "Come be with people who value you." So there I was, clutching a glass of champagne in her festive living room, trying to seem okay despite the hollow ache in my chest. Tomorrow was the payment deadline my dad had set. Around 10 p.m., I cracked. Jessica found me in her guest bathroom, tears streaming as I stared at another text from my dad, expecting transfer confirmation tomorrow. "Don't let your sister down. I can't do this anymore. Jess," I sobbed. She closed the door and called our friends Martin, Dana, and Rachel for an impromptu support session. "Tell us everything," Dana said, her therapist instincts sharp. I spilled it all: the Christmas photo, the invoice, the cruel call, Kayla's car post, years of financial demands and favoritism. The words poured out, years of hurt and rejection finally free. Their reactions surprised me. No shock, just sad recognition. Martin shared how his brother treated him similarly, always taking without giving. Rachel described her mother excluding her from family events, then blaming her for being distant. One by one, they shared stories of toxic family dynamics, validating my pain. I wasn't alone. It wasn't my failure as a daughter, it was my parents' failure to love me. As midnight neared, we rejoined the party. My heart felt lighter. During the countdown, my phone rang. Uncle Frank, my dad's brother, who I'd always been close to. I stepped onto Jessica's balcony, the winter air sharp. "Amber, something didn't sit right about Christmas," he said, voice troubled. "Your parents told everyone you refused to come despite multiple invitations. They said you're too focused on your career, becoming elitist with your tech job." I gripped the railing. "Uncle Frank, they never invited me." The first contact was the dinner photo and a $30,000 invoice for Kayla's car. A long pause. "I was afraid of that. There's more. They've been saying they paid for your education and supported your career, taking credit for your success while complaining about your ingratitude." The lies hit like a punch. They'd built a false narrative, casting themselves as generous and me as ungrateful. "I should have questioned sooner," Frank said, regretful. "I'm sorry, Amber." Fireworks burst overhead as the new year began, but I felt only rage. Years of suppressed anger surged, no longer contained by my need to be the good daughter. Back at my apartment, an email from my dad awaited. "It's January 1st, and we haven't received the transfer. If the money isn't received by end of day, we'll take legal action for the amount promised. Your constant disappointment must end." They'd never even asked if I'd help, they just assumed they were entitled. Threatening to sue for a promise I never made was the final straw. I called my college friend Greg Powell, an attorney, and scheduled an urgent meeting. The time for being the bigger person was over. The daughter they'd underestimated was about to show them who she'd become. On the first business day of the new year, I sat in Greg's warm downtown office instead of at my software job. I'd requested an emergency week of personal leave, a first in my career, and my team lead approved it immediately. a nod to my reputation. "This is quite a situation," Greg said, reviewing the emails, texts, and financial records. "They have no legal ground. You never agreed to pay for the car, no contract, no verbal promise. A lawsuit would be thrown out." Relief washed over me. "What concerns me is the pattern of financial exploitation," he added. We spent 2 hours crafting a plan. Greg drafted a formal letter declining payment and stating no further financial requests would be considered. "Send this by certified mail," he advised. "And don't engage directly. Any communication goes through me." Next, I met Heather Donovan, my financial advisor. "We need to protect your assets," she said. We changed all my banking passwords and security questions, froze my credit, and updated my power of attorney to remove my parents as emergency contacts. "You've worked too hard for your financial security," Heather said. Back home, I set up a new email and phone number, transferring contacts gradually but excluding family. I adjusted social media privacy settings, removing family members from my digital life. Each step felt like cutting a string, tying me to their manipulation. Midweek, I called my grandparents, whom I loved deeply despite my parents' behavior. "Grandma, I need to tell you something," I said, voice trembling. I explained the Christmas exclusion, the invoice, the years of manipulation, keeping my tone factual. "I'm not cutting contact with you and Grandpa, but I'm setting boundaries with my parents and Kayla. I wanted you to hear it from me." A long pause. "I had no idea it was this bad." Grandma said, "Your mother said you chose not to come to Christmas. We should have called you." Her words were validating but painful. "We love you, Amber, and we're proud of you, even if your parents don't show it." She added, "That meant more than she could know." That evening, I joined a support group for adults dealing with family estrangement. The room was filled with people whose stories echoed mine. Facilitator Sarah Jenkins taught us boundary setting techniques. "The hardest part is the guilt," she said. "Write down your reasons for setting boundaries and review them when guilt pulls you back." I created a document, "Why I'm Choosing Myself," listing every instance of exploitation and favoritism. It spanned 7 pages, a stark reminder of patterns I'd normalized. By week's end, everything was in place. Greg's letter was sent, my accounts were secured, my new contact info was ready. I had a support network of friends, professionals, and group members. The final step was the hardest. At my kitchen table, I stared at my response letter, outlining every loan dates, amounts, proof, and stating no further support would be provided. It called their treatment unacceptable and announced my step back until they respected my boundaries. My finger hovered over send. Decades of conditioning screamed, "What if they need you? What if this breaks everything?" Then I heard my mom's laugh. "You're just a bank," and my dad's words. "You're not worth a plate." I pressed send, blocked their numbers, emails, and social media. The ball was in their court, but I wasn't waiting for their move. I was moving forward. The response was swift and predictable. Despite blocking them, my family found ways to reach me. Aunt Linda called the day after the letter arrived. "Your mother's distraught over this letter. How could you be so cruel? I was ready." "Aunt Linda, this comes after years of mistreatment. I'm taking care of my well-being now. But they're your parents. Poor Kayla's devastated about the car. Family supports each other." She pressed, "I've supported them for years without reciprocation. I'm not discussing this further." Similar calls came from other relatives, angry, bewildered, guilt-tripping. Each followed the same pattern flying monkeys sent to bring me back in line. Social media became a battlefield. Kayla posted a tearful video about her selfish sister ruining her car experience. Mom shared vague posts about ungrateful children. Distant relatives commented with sympathy for them, none knowing my side. I stayed silent, per Greg's advice, focusing on rebuilding my life without their drain. 3 weeks later, their tactics shifted. A massive bouquet arrived at my office. "We miss you. Family is forever. Call us. Love. Mom and Dad." Daily voicemails on my work phone followed. alternating between tearful pleas and angry demands. Dr. Hayes called it manipulation when threats failed. They tried affection to regain control. "This confirms you made the right choice," she said. "They're cycling through tactics because they've lost power over you." Unexpected support emerged. "Aunt Laura, my mom's younger sister, sent a letter. I've watched how they treated you and said nothing." That was my failure. What you're doing takes courage. I faced similar treatment from our parents before moving away. "I'm here if you want to talk." Her words were oxygen. We began corresponding, uncovering generational patterns of favoritism and exploitation. She'd been the Amber of her generation, expected to support her siblings with little in return. Then my cousin Derek called. "They did the same to me last year, asked for $15,000 for a kitchen remodel after excluding me from the family reunion. I gave in because I feared being cut off. I admire you for standing your ground." I wasn't alone. There was a pattern of givers and takers in our family. As winter turned to spring, the drama subsided. The flying monkeys retreated. Social media posts about ungrateful children faded. My parents tried contacting me twice more, once when I removed their Netflix from my account, and again when Kayla's latest venture failed and they needed investors. Each attempt was about money, not my well-being. As my April birthday approached, I planned a day of joy, free from obligatory family dinners. My friends surprised me with a beachside cottage getaway, hiking, cooking, board games, and stories. It was my first birthday that felt like a true celebration, with no passive-aggressive comments or comparisons to Kayla. That month, I got a major promotion at work. The week off had given me clarity, and I returned with renewed focus, channeling energy once consumed by family drama into innovative projects. My team lead noticed, "You've always been talented, but these past months, you've been exceptional. Whatever changes you've made agree with you." She was right. Freeing myself from toxic obligations created space for growth. I joined a hiking group, took cooking classes, and mentored junior developers at a coding boot camp. The energy once spent on family chaos now nourished me. In October, while volunteering at a tech workshop for teenage girls, a student, Zoe, shared feeling overshadowed by her perfect sister. "My parents always compare us. Nothing I do is good enough," she said. I recognized myself in her. I shared parts of my story and the importance of self-worth independent of family validation. "Your value doesn't decrease because someone fails to see it," I told her. "You don't have to earn love through achievement." Speaking those truths to Zoe solidified them in me. My family's opinion no longer defined my worth. As the next holiday season neared, I felt peace. I'd survived a year of standing my ground, weathering guilt and manipulation. I'd found support in unexpected places and built new traditions with chosen family. Blood didn't make family respect, reciprocity, and love did. My apartment, redecorated with colors and books that brought me joy, reflected my inner transformation. Photos of friends replaced obligatory family portraits. This Christmas, I had plans that filled me with anticipation: Jessica and Martin's friend gathering, Taylor's brunch potluck, and volunteering at a shelter, something I'd always wanted to prioritize. In late November, my parents made one last attempt: a certified letter demanding $25,000 for Kayla's struggling business, threatening to sell the family cabin they claimed was my inheritance. No apology, no acknowledgement of past hurt, just another demand. A year ago, I'd have spiraled. Now, I felt only sadness and confirmation I'd made the right choice. The cabin was bought with a loan from my grandparents. They never repaid, using it as leverage, showed nothing had changed. I forwarded the letter to Greg and held my boundaries. Life after estrangement brought unexpected freedom. I joined a community garden, took a writing class, and started dating again. Most meaningful was mentoring young women from tough family backgrounds through the tech workshop, now a regular program. Helping girls like Zoe find their voice healed me. You can't control if your family values you. I'd tell them, but you can build a life with people who do. Breaking generational patterns became my mission. The cycle of favoritism and exploitation that hurt Aunt Laura and me would stop here. I even started a scholarship fund for young women pursuing education despite family obstacles, turning pain into purpose. On Christmas Eve, I hosted pre-party appetizers for my chosen family before Jessica's gathering, looking at these people who loved me for me, not what I could provide. I raised a glass. A year ago, I thought losing my family meant being alone forever. You showed me family is about love, respect, and support. Thank you for showing me what genuine family feels like. The path forward is open-ended. I haven't closed the door on reconciliation, but it's locked tight until they show real change. My life no longer revolves around their approval. I maintain ties with relatives like Aunt Laura and Derek who respect my boundaries, while protecting myself from those who don't. The biggest lesson: love should never require self-erasure. Real love builds, supports, and celebrates. It doesn't diminish or exploit. This transformed how I approach all relationships, creating space for mutual respect over obligation. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set tough boundaries with family? How did you navigate it? Share in the comments. Your story could help someone feeling alone. If this resonated, hit like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear it. Your worth is inherent, not earned. Sometimes, the most loving choice is to love yourself enough to walk away from those who can't see your value. Thank you for joining me. May your holidays be filled with genuine connection and love that lifts your spirit.